Hey there, my weird and wonderful voids. Welcome back. So, continuing on with our back to the basics, big foundation of what art is, line of action. But Chad, what is that? Well, I'm so glad you asked, anonymous viewer. How do I do this? Line of action is, as it says, it's the action of which a body takes. So it's the entire direction a body takes, and usually it's aligned with the spine. So as you see with the beginning of these warm-ups, I'm making just a simple line and I'm following the contours of where it goes. And you can use the same line for multiple poses. You can use the same line to have the head at the down part for like an animal landing, or higher up for an animal jumping, or just find a different way to feel it. Lines of actions are supposed to be messy. Do not try to get caught up in cleaning up the line of action. Think of it like this. A line of action is where you can show the position of an item or a subject with the least amount of effort, with the least amount of lines on the paper. It's a good way to see how you want the final project to end. It's a good way to see where exactly you want the eye to be led. Lines of actions are a good way to lead the eye not only to where the next potential pose may be, but where the most intrigue is with the art piece. Lines of action are deceivingly simple. Deceivingly. It's so hard to do a lot with a little because you want to get invested, you want to move on to the next step, and you gotta take it slow. And even limbs can have lines of actions as well. You'll often see me with either arms and especially legs. I'll start out with 2 legs, or probably, of course, 2 legs. Most people have 2 legs, most. There'll be 2 lines to signify the thighs, or 2 lines on the arms to signify, okay, where's the elbow and where's the forearm curving. Lines of action is pretty much a guide. It's where you want to follow through. It can make your art very stiff and inanimate. Honestly, there's not a lot you can say about it. I'm going through these quick roughs just to show you what exactly I am using as the line of action. I'm using multiple different colors with these animal and general references just to prove where things are landing. Just you're following the arc of the spine. And when there's a straight line, the human mind really likes a curved line matching it. And if someone's putting out a lot of energy, that force is going to impact that other item or that other person. So it's going to completely concave towards the motion. Use line of actions for spines especially, and for limbs. Like I said before, sometimes when an item is putting out a lot of force, the adjacent item or object or character will show impact to that force. And even here with one of my major pieces that I'm very proud of from Hell of a Boss, there was multiple lines of action going on, and I use them in different colors to show where all that lands. Even the background has a line of action where it encompasses the people. To further prove this point, I did another quick exercise with pink lines for just very quickly rough sketches, no thoughts behind it, just very quick. And then I came in with a red pencil just to start doing some proportions and limbs and stuff. With the portion of the one kicking, balance is also really important with line of action. If everything is happening only on one side of the body and everything else is close into the body, it looks like it's really off balance and it'll be teetered over by like a sneeze. So that's another big aspect of line of action as well, is balance to the pose. If the same arm and leg of the body is out at the same time, then it's going to look really awkward because naturally our minds know that you can't balance properly with that. It's also good to see where the line of action might continue its course. to think, okay, where is this person going to go? Where is this animal going to go next to better place legs and stuff like that. Line action is not only for the impact, the intrigue, to see where exactly the mind wants to go and where to lead the eye exactly, it's also important for balance. With the second pose of this person with their back arched and their leg up, like ballerina style, so much is happening on the bottom half, I had to put something at the top of the arc to make it look a bit more realistic or reasonable. Now the X I had a little bit of trouble with because, as I said before, these were done with very few thoughts, no thoughts behind these eyes, where just spur of the moment as an exercise. And at first I was thinking of doing a head of a dragon and stuff like, but that's cheating. I've done that way too many times. Then I'm like, okay, most times with lines of action, where they meet will be a major part of the body, usually the chest or the pelvis. Then I realized line of action can also be used for perspective of how it's going to meet and curve from the body. So I decided to have it as a hand, kind of giving the camera a high five. Once this is in and you're happy with the silhouette, that's where you can come in with a second color and have more proportions. You can actually put in the details, the elbows, the joints, the chest cavity, some small details of where the face is looking, what exactly this animal is. That's why the hardest lesson to learn was hands, but the first lesson you should learn is line of action. With the second pass, this is the point of where now you put in structure. You've got the creativity, you want to know how it's land, where it's going to end up being. The question is now, how is it going to get there? Is it a big figure? Is it a thin figure? Is the action done out of panic or anger or just excitement? This is where the story part comes in. This is like filling in the paragraph with adjectives and all that fun stuff. It's how you bring character to the drawing. At another time, we will go over proportions and perspective and all that, if you guys want me to do that. If you do, please leave a comment down below. Even with something as simple as someone standing straight up, there needs to be a curve, unless you are doing a specifically symmetrical reference sheet for a client or for yourself or a reference sheet. Usually there should be some form of variation, some curve, some interest while you're creating the piece. Otherwise, it's, like I said, it's going to look really stagnant. And proportions can sometimes be the hardest part with this because some parts of the body just does not curve that way. For example, this leg that I'm working on with, once again, the X preference, it's way too far out. He looks like he's either jumping in the middle of something, and the design is very busy. It brings all your eye to the other side of the form, and it can really lose its structure. So I had to restart. To put a final touch on this, I decided to do a little bit better of a drawing to figure out, okay, let me show you how this works in practice. So I did very quick lines. I wanted a fight scene. I was thinking of like someone jumping away from a blow or from a weapon or a sword, because swords have been on the mind lately, and started off with those lines. Then I brought in secondary motions. That's the arms, that's where the head is tilted, that's where the legs are landing. Roughing it out with proportions and base. This is like filling out the body. And just taken my time with it, being very loose. I like to have very messy sketches at this point. That way I can save more mental energy of, okay, where to go from now, such as clothes, facial expression, the minute details. And here's one of the downsides with having such few lines of action. With the curve, the one actually striking, I thought, okay, maybe this person might be swinging a rock or something, holding it one arm. Then I'm like, wait, what if it's holding it two arms? Maybe it's a hammer or something. But it wasn't feeling as good, so I brought in a second line of action to better guide me. And it kind of brought this really nice twisting motion to the body, where maybe he was like on the defense and all of a sudden he turned to take a swipe and caught the guy unexpectedly. And I really liked how that looked. So I started blocking out, happy with this first pass, blocking out. Had a little bit of trouble with the second pass of the sword or whatever, but that's fine. But as I was working on this, as happy as I was with the upper torso, it looked like he was split in half. His body, his pelvis does not look right. It looks like he's a rubber man. It did not look right. Every anatomy class I had was screaming at me, and I really tried to push and pull with pectorals, with the glutes, and even so far as trying to make the leg more three-dimensional and bring it towards the camera to maybe have more of a motion in the actual action besides just the arm swing. And no matter what I did, it did not look right. And at this point with art, sometimes you just have to restart. You should not have to fight your image to make it work. And as I said before, sometimes your first pass is not the best. So I went with more of a simple design, like a simple line of action for the secondary. Maybe having him leap forward. Instead of having him in the twisting motion to get back, leap forward. I showed a second line of action with the hot pink on his legs to show, okay, this is where the calf and the thigh meet. And as you saw, I just erased the foot because when you're working with lines of action, especially with limbs, if something is in motion and all of a sudden there is a hard right angle with it, it's going to really stop that motion and it can be really jarring to the eyes. So I immediately erased that foot and continued the motion down with the foot facing backwards. Moving back to the guy who's being attacked, it was a lot faster because it was a lot simpler of a sketch. And I was able to fill in the lines relatively quickly to accentuate this. Filling out the lines, bringing in the proportions, you've heard all this before. And then really quickly gonna go through with the third pass just to show you how I would normally finish something like this. So I'll let you enjoy the few minutes left on speed paint. It's not gonna go too in depth, just something show like, hey, this is how the process is done start to finish, just really quickly. Enjoy. Well, there we have it. Line of action, the first stepstone, the spine of a drawing, as I've said before. It's deceptively simple, and it's easier to do when you have a basic idea before even starting of how you want this to finish. The line of action will give you a more realistic idea of how to get this accomplished. Really quickly here, I have officially created a Blue Sky account, so if you haven't followed me already, follow me over there. There you can have a little bit more input on some of the stuff that may happen in the channel. Sometimes I do polls, or you can vote on the next video, and sometimes I even have raffles. And these next 2 videos I have planned coming up will be those 2 raffle winners of the Hell of a Boss, as well as my House of the Dragon raffles. Fair warning, after that, I will probably be disappearing. I've got a big project coming up where I'll be creating a full-length animatic, not an animation, an animatic, and I've been working on it very hard between my shifts at work, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. Give a comment and a like below, and if you have an idea or would like to learn the next basic for art, please comment and let me know. Stay safe and sane. Bye! Do